morning, guys. Dr. Rob here. Welcome to the not Breaking Through Addiction. We just changed. Living the Dream podcast, guys. Every single week, there's brand new guests on. How was your week this week? Let me see what I did. So, a lot of gardening with Janet. You know, Janet loves the garden. Um, Patients, obviously, also some clients, and then just living the dream this week. I finally found out to stop worrying about everything and chill out the last 18 months only, guys. And it's so good. I'm 62 years old and I don't give a crap about anything anymore. And it's such a great place to be in. And the reason I say that, guys, is you need to start doing this now. So don't forget, if you don't know what it is, breath work, teeth work, mirror work, message me later and I'll tell you. So what the show is about. Well, we bring various guests from various places, all walks of life. We had a guest today, and he couldn't make it. So Ashley Powell, who some of you may know, works for Rob Kelly Group. She's my personal assistant, does a great job. I've always wanted to have her on the podcast because she has such an amazing story. She has a crazy story of how she ended up here and how we met. You know, it was crazy. It was like a spiritual connection straight away, and I had to have her working for me. So Ashley Powell on the show after this. Guys, welcome back. My name is Dr. Rob Kelly. This is Living the Dream podcast, and welcome Ashley Powell on the podcast, guys. Hey, Ashley, how you doing?
Good. I'm living the dream.
Of course you are. So for those people, I know you're heavy into the recovery community and you've helped loads of people. Tell people, give us some of your backstory, like when it started, when the behavior, when the drugs, alcohol, whatever it was started for you, and then walk me through a couple of years of that.
You know, if I had to say when it started, I think it started when I was 7 years old. I'll never forget. I was in first grade, and up until this point, I really liked school. And every Friday, we would get to, if we had good behavior, we would get to pick out a toy from the treasure chest. And I remember there was 2 toys that I wanted, and I couldn't make a decision, which is a problem I still struggle with. And so I wanted, I think, a sticker and a bouncy ball or whatever. And so I was like, I'm going to get both, we're supposed to pick one. I'm going to take both. And the teacher caught me and she said, you're a thief. You're a thief. And she humiliated me in front of the whole class. And she made me color my behavior square in my, folder black that day. And black is it's either yellow, brown, or black. And I had to color my square black. And I was never the same after that. Never the same. Second grade, I'm wearing, I was terrible. I was like, I'm a bad kid. And so here I am, I wouldn't stop talking while the teacher spoke. I was terrible from that point on. And I was on a mission to receive negative attention. And that's, honestly where it started. I remember first grade, there was a commercial or PSA on the TV, and it was like, no one ever says they want to be a junkie when they grow up. And I'm like, I do. I didn't even know what it was, but it looked negative enough. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do that. And I sure did.
Wow. Isn't that crazy? From an early age is what we
Yep.
do. Absolutely crazy stuff. When did you take your first drug or drink, Ash?
I think I was 11 years old. I got completely wasted. During the 4th of July, we used to go out to Lakey as a family every summer. And my uncle and, all the adults were drinking. My brother was drinking. Everybody was drinking. So I was like, I'll drink way more than any of you. And I was off to the races. And, it wasn't much longer after that. I think I was 12. think I was like in 7th grade. I had a friend come over, and my mom went to the movies, and she and I were at my house, and I put the chain on the front door, and we downed a 1.75 liter bottle of vodka in a 2-hour period. My mom came home. We both had alcohol poisoning. We were vomiting everywhere. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know, she had to call my family to come in. And it was crazy. I was on a mission. A lot of there's a lot of, talk now about these programs where, kids get kidnapped and sent away to these programs that were all kind of shut down. There's a new Netflix special called The Program, and also one called Hell Camp. My mom sent me there. She sent me to that because she didn't know what else to do with me. I was gonna kill myself.
So. Wow, horrible. Let me take you back. Give me one childhood trauma. I know there must be loads just like me, but give me one childhood trauma that still sticks with you today.
Well, certainly that event in 1st grade, that I was a thief. That's a big one. But I think another one too was, my mom traveled a lot for work, and then, and that was kind of traumatic. And when my brother went to college, my life changed a lot. I felt abandoned.
That's it. Wow. Yeah, that's a strong word, abandoned. And most of us get abandoned through childhood, through no fault of the parents. And it depends what abandonment looks like for each individual, but yeah, I certainly felt that. Looking back on life now, I definitely, especially when I was homeless, I definitely wasn't validated. I wasn't approved as a child, not from my dad, from my mom, yes, but not from dad. And we looked to our fathers, always looked to the fathers for adoration, but he's a kind of man that didn't give it because he probably didn't know how from maybe his father or mother. It's pretty cold. Take me to 5 years ago.
5 years ago. So May of 2018, I was selling drugs. I thought I was I thought I was the man, I really did. I thought I was the man. I had gone so long selling drugs, and just getting away with it. And I had so much power, when you have substances and you have people that need those substances, you're so far up here, or so you think, right? Or feel. And so I was on my way I had run out of heroin, and I had customers that were sick. And so I went and got some more, or I tried to. I got pulled over because the officer behind me was training a new recruit, and they ran my plate. And I was in my friend's car. It wasn't stolen. It was hers, but what I didn't realize was that she had just lost it in divorce court, and the ex-husband had reported it stolen 6 hours prior to this. What are the odds, right? So in that moment, one SUV turned into 10, and it was over. I knew it was over, and so went to jail. And, up to this point, I had lost my kid. I had lost my house. I had been homeless, but losing my freedom was different. It was like, and I had never seen the inside of Bexar County Jail. It's the 3rd worst in the country. And I wet the bed when I got to my pod, and the first night in my bunk. It was humbling, to say the least. It was really a moment where it was like, wow, I am not the shit. I just wet my pants in jail. It was quite an experience. So I fantasized a lot about suicide in those, first few weeks. And then someone gave me a book, and it was about forgiveness. And I read it, and I sobbed, and I actually felt something for the first time in a long time. And I prayed, I told God that if he got me out of this, I would change my life. I didn't know how, and I knew I didn't know how, but I would do whatever it took. And I went from having 6 felony charges with no bond, 2 first degree, 2 second degree, a 3rd degree, and a state jail felony. I got PR bonds for all 6 of those charges. Got out without paying a dime. Went to rehab, sober living. Did really well until 2020, and then relapsed again. But I knew where to go, when I finished what I was doing. I knew where to go when I became miserable enough again.
So let me take you back to 2020. What made you pick up that drug in 2020? I mean, what was that? You were doing good, miracle happened, you got out of jail, nothing down. But what was that? What was that day like before or during that day, that the thought patterns you were going through?
So I'm glad you asked. This is what made me pick up a drink. I really missed my old friends. But this is the big one. I've only just recently started working on this codependency and addiction to relationships. So I was living in my sober living house. I had been there for 18 months, and COVID happened, and it was a stay-at-home order. And so the house, agreed that you could only leave to go to work or see a doctor, which meant no more boyfriend. You can't go see your boyfriend anymore. And I was like, oh, really? Well, then I'm going to move in with him. I move in with him. He's not sober. I didn't know this, which I should have known, I knew that 3 months before that he had overdosed, but I thought he was doing better. And I thought I could fix him and it'll be fine. And, all the things, and he became my drug, and, trying to fix him and losing, my social network, my support. So the boys.
Yeah, of course. And then what about your daughter? I don't want to mention any names, but when did your daughter get taken off you? Did you get her back again? I'm sure people are dying to know that.
So my daughter, when she turned 6, her dad took her away from me. He actually convinced me that if I showed up to court, he convinced me that I didn't need to show up to court. He convinced me that he was going to give me half of everything, half custody, all that. And I believed him, and I knew that I couldn't pass a drug test, so I didn't go. And what happened was I got a default judgment. So he got everything. I mean, he really did it. He took her away from me completely. So that's when I went off the deep end. And that was back in, 2014 or so. I wanted to die. And so, but I didn't kill myself, but I went off the deep end for sure for years. And I was homeless. And then I started selling, and I still was homeless. And so 2018, I'm in Alpha Home for treatment, my first treatment. And he brought her to visit me. And from that point on, she and I started developing a relationship. He allowed me back into her life. And a little over a year ago, she moved in with me. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So even though it took him, I say this to my wife about my wife all the time. My wife she put him with me for so many years. So when she took my kids off me, she changed the lock. She wanted them in the house, called the police. I got arrested, all that stuff. I look back now, and thank God that woman did. Thank God that woman had the heart to say no to me. Because I would promise all sorts. I'll be there Sunday, and this still gets me. When I watch a movie and the kids are waiting at the window for the father or mother to turn up, and they don't turn up, and my mom joined her and said, "Look, you need to walk out of their lives." So I did, thinking it was for the best, but Is that what you thought about him after that? Looking back, he probably did you a favor.
You know, he really did that to, honestly, to hurt me. I mean, he really did. It was, you know, because and I know this because, you know, I would be on the phone with him. I would hear her crying in the background for me. And he would say, your mom doesn't love you. Your mom is a whore. If your mom wanted you, she'd be here. So it was really, it wasn't for her own good, although that's what he said. You know, I have been able to be accountable for my actions. I did things to him in my 20s that, you know, that made him hate me. And, I mean, it certainly went both ways, but the ways that I handled it, you know, I made my bed in a way. I knew what I was dealing with. I knew that he would be that kind of person. And I knew that he would use her in that way. Because, you know, he's not playing with a full deck either. He's got the substance use issues. He's got the traumatic brain injury. He's got the mom who kind of enables him, you know, in anything that she supports everything he does financially, you know, all of it. So, but looking back, you know, I was doing what I knew, you know, like you can't go back, you can't redo things. So.
No. And what about the aha moment? What's the day that you said, this is it? And how did you do it? Because it's very hard for people like me and you just to stop. I could not stop, so I need to seek help. How did you do that?
So this last time that I got sober on September the 8th of 22, I was so miserable. And I had been working up to it. I had been thinking, you know, I have so much money in my hands right now. I had, you know, materialistically, I had everything. I had my daughter back in my life, albeit not she knew I wasn't sober. She knew it. And she was very sick too. She was getting sick, going to the hospital every month. I mean, 2022 was hell. There was some concern that her cancer had returned. She was set to go get a biopsy done in Houston. I was supposed to go to that biopsy. And I was sick from doing fentanyl, you know. And I didn't even do fentanyl. I didn't even like opiates that much, you know. I was so miserable. I was like, why not, you know? And I did some. I was just miserable. And I was throwing up for about 2 days. I was like, I'm sick. I can't go. I'm sorry. But what I did instead was I called San Antonio Recovery Center, and because I knew they'd come pick me up. I used to work there. I knew that they would come get me. And I needed them to come get me now while I'm willing, because that's a small window, you know. As soon as the wind blows from another direction, it's like, never mind, I'm fine, you know. But I was miserable. I couldn't stop throwing up. I was tiny, you know. I was just miserable, and I knew I needed to. Another thing also is I had been kind of consulting with an astrologer at that time. And she said, Ashley, if you don't get if you don't get better, your daughter's not going to get better. You are your daughter's only hope for stability and well-being. So, you know, and it's funny how I should have known this already, right? But we're sick. And so, all those things, you know, I was like, all right, I'm going to go. So I went to SARC. They picked me up. I went, I detoxed, and then I came home and continued to sell drugs for another month, you know, got to pay the bills. But it's crazy because, my thinking, you know, for so long was I can't get sober because I have to sell drugs because I have to pay the bills. Otherwise, you know, who's going to hire someone with 6 felony charges? Who's going to do that? And the second I went to detox, I got an email from the rent relief program that I had applied for, you know, just for fun, like a year or two prior. and they were like, "Hey, we're reopening your case," and I was like, "Is this a joke?" Like, you know, it wasn't a joke. They sent me like $9,000 I'm 30 minutes after I agreed to go to detox, and that's when I knew that if I did what I needed to do, that I was going to be okay.
That's crazy. It is when we do what we need to do, and everyone knows what you need to do, by the way. If you don't, text me or call me, or Ashley or Janet, and we'll run you through that real quick, like a 15-minute phone call. Not gonna cost you anything, but yeah, we know what you got to do. You got to do it. Life changes and miracles happen like crazy, and it's all about perception. Again, I will say, if how many red cars did you see coming here this morning? I don't know, but if I ask you to watch the red cars going home, you're going to spot about 10. Well, why did you spot it? Because you were looking for it. It's like the new life you want. Why did it happen? Because you was looking for it, and our perception becomes our reality. And that's the main thing. What we see, we can actually achieve, but we don't think so. Because nobody. When I wrote my book, my sister and my niece came straight away. No, that didn't happen. And then my sister went, "Oh my God, it did happen, but that was your view on what happened. Oh my God, I'm so sorry," which was awesome. Tell me about that conference you went to and how we met, because I still think that's awesome, and I've never done anything like this before. But tell the audience about
that. Okay, so so I was, about 9 months sober, I think, at the time, and I had decided to go back to get my licensed chemical dependency counseling practicum completed, because I had finished all of the classroom session or hours, and so now it was time for me to do my practicum hours. So I was at Positive Recovery doing that, and the office manager that I had become friends with, who worked there, she said to me one day, "Hey, I have some tickets to a conference. Are you interested in coming?" And I'm thinking, I kind of just rather be lazy this weekend and have my weekend. But she followed that sentence with, "I got them from Dr. Rob." And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go. Because I knew, one, I needed to get out of my comfort zone. Going home, having my weekend at home, that's comfort zone stuff. It was time to go. I knew just because we had been friends on Facebook since 2018, I had always wondered, is this guy real? I saw some of the things that you had done, but I hadn't actually met you myself. And I also didn't know that I knew anybody that actually knew you as well, So anyway, so she invited me. I come to this, I hate public speaking, but I felt called to grab the mic, get on the stage and say things. I knew when I met you in person that I was supposed to know you, and it changed my life. It's funny because I did my breath work there in the conference, and I got so dizzy, and then I went home and got a migraine later. But I struggle with migraines a lot. But I was overstimulated is what it was. I learned so much. I'm kind of an introvert, so it was a lot of peopling for me. But I just learned so much, I love how, when you say, you can't fucking do that. Says who? Shit. That's exactly right. Amen to that. And then the other thing too was, God doesn't call the qualified. So, he qualifies the called. So here I am, because I'm not qualified at all.
Yeah. Well, my take on that as well was two people I noticed, you and another lady who ended up going through the program. She's doing amazing, of course. But there was something there. There was a spiritual attraction of everybody that was there. As soon as they saw you, they came over, took a photograph with you. And then I went over to Ashley. She didn't come to me. And we took a photograph, and I put my arm around her. I asked, can I put my arm around you? She said, yes. So I always asked that question. Put my arm around her, and there was something there that went, oh, this probably the person you're looking for. to come and help you and probably be your assistant. And then weeks later, you know, I'm kind of texting, okay, and you said you're going to apply for this job at fast food place. And then I said, hey, do you want to come and work for me? And I think the first words out of my mouth were, I'm not qualified. And yeah, and it's been absolutely amazing since. It really has. Best assistant I've ever had. You know, looks after us. We love her as a family. She's now our adopted daughter. And we have fun in the office every day. She's like 2 offices down, you know, and we have fun every day. And from tomorrow, it's slippers only in the offices. So if you do come and visit, guys, you'll see us with our matching slippers on. So we do crazy things. We're going to do a pajama day one day, guys. So we're going to invite you into the office all wearing pajamas, and we're just going to have freaking fun. So while you're here, tell me about the Rob Kelly Foundation, because you're attached to that with your number. So what's all that about?
So the Rob Kelly Foundation is phenomenal. You know, one thing that I find a lot is people needing to take that first step. You know, like myself, I needed to get to the detox in that moment that I had, of that moment of willingness that I had, you know. So the Rob Kelly Foundation is geared towards anybody who's ready to take that step and change their life, but they don't have the means, whether it's they don't have insurance or they don't have, you know, the out-of-pocket expense to get into a detox. Anybody who is facing homelessness because of early recovery, you know, any of the things, any of the common things. If there's somebody who would like to go to treatment, but, you know, they're afraid that they don't have anyone to take care of their animals, they need somebody that's, you know, somewhere to board them. Okay, that is not a big deal. Let us help you with that. But we need to get more funding, and so we can do some of these amazing things, because really, you know, the reasons or the excuses people have for not getting well are trivial. I mean, they're so small.
Yeah, it's always like when we've been on interventions, and you know, we said the first thing he says, "What about my dog?" Or, you know, I can't leave my dog, and I'm like, you've been out of your brains for 4 weeks. You don't know where you are. You've gone missing. Who's looking after the dog then?
Yep.
So that's what the money's for, guys. You know, and everything that comes in, the people that we send the money to help, you will get a letter off them or an email or a text saying, thank you for your $10. This is what I did with your $10. I'm so grateful. So we keep you in the loop, because I didn't like was donating my money and not know anything about it. I used it to big companies, and you found out that 40% of that, my donation, went to 100 grand a year that the CEO of that charity, you know, went to. And I'm like, no. So nobody gets paid in here for the foundation. Everybody works free of charge on behalf of the foundation, and that's the way it'll stay. Hopefully one day we're going to get 100-bed rehab. We're going to do half for those people who can't afford it and half for those people who can afford it. And we're just going to do the best I can and leave a legacy before I go. So I got to tell you guys, Ashley jumped in here at 1 minute's notice because my previous guest could not get on. So I had to take him off the studio. So Ashley, thank you for coming on. You are freaking amazing. Got lots of messages I couldn't put up because it was happening too fast. So thank you so much. Have a great afternoon, because you will hear, because you're with us. And again, anything you need, let me know. 2 offices away. Apart from that, thank you so much, Ashley.
Thank you.
Hey guys, Ashley Powell was on the show. Such a great person. If you want to be coached by Ashley, she's also one of our coaches as well as my assistant. Message in, guys, because, you know, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, so they say. So there are some people, we have various coaches within our company, and obviously you match with the person, including my daughter, who you feel comfortable with. So it's not always me that you have to come to. Guys, thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your messages. And I've got some thanks and some directions you can go to, guys. Courtney Davies, our producer. She's also my marketing media girl. So all the podcast, all the TV, all the radio things you see me on, that's all down to her. So thank you, Courtney, for what you do. As you mentioned, the Rob Kelly Foundation. The robkellyfoundation.org is the website. And of course, in April, I think it's April, I have to check the dates. I think it's around the 23rd, 24th, or something like that. We'll have to check the dates on that, guys. But the conference, Neuro Hero Conference, will be in town, San Antonio, Texas. So please, the neuroheroconference.com, come and join us. Got some amazing speakers, including Ken Joslin. And those guys that are into conferences and everything like that, you'll realize that he's one of the guys. He's our keynote speaker. We've got some other great speakers as well. It's going to be an afternoon, Friday the 19th. Thank you, Ashley. And Saturday the 20th. Jump onto the neuroheroconference.com. There's the website right there, guys. Jump on, buy some tickets. They're not that dear. If you want to sponsor us, again, Ashley's the person to get hold of. Don't forget, guys, coming up with CUs is the neurorealtypartners.com, where neuroscience meets realty, where we teach new real estate agents to become, build their own business and become, the first $1 million in the first 1 or 2 years is possible, guys. So come on and sort that out. And of course, last but not least, I've joined up. I'm a partner with Protect Security and AI Automation. So, guys, when the guy told me about this, what he could do in my house, I was mind blown. We're talking about IPTV. What's IPTV? Oh my God! It's like a quarter of the price you pay now for every single channel in the world you want, and also automation for your company, your houses, security, whatever you need. Protect Security and AI Automation is here for you. So give us a call, guys. Listen, if you want to be on the show, all you got to do is call Courtney. And you don't have to be any superstar or people like that. We're here to help, and we're here to have fun. So whether you think you've got a story or not, you have a story, and people need to hear that. So we want to get normal people or people that are struggling even on the show, and so we can expose you and you can feel part of the team. Because once you come on, so for that side, Courtney's your girl, 214-566-1882. Apart from that, guys, have a fantastic week. Look after yourselves. Compliment 3 people. I will see you next week at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday, Central Time. Apart from that, guys, go have fun, babies, and thank you for joining.